This is Sue Greenwell with the Empowered Light Holistic Expo. Our next expo is September 6th through 8th in Oaks, Pennsylvania, which is right outside of Philadelphia today. I'm here with Elizabeth Miles, and she's going to be speaking Sunday at 2 p.m. in the Evolve Room. And hey, Elizabeth, how are you?
Good, Sue. How are you doing? Thanks so much for chatting with me today.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you again. So tell those that are watching this video a little bit about your background and what you'll be doing at the expo.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited to be back at the expo. The last time I was there a couple of years ago, I was in a very different role than I will be now. So my background's kind of a twisted story, but the short version is I'm a mom turned baker, entrepreneur turned coach, and healer. So I launched a book in July. So I will be talking about the book a little bit, sharing some of my journey at the expo during that talk, and really talking about healing and how we can heal from trauma, how we can return more to a more peaceful place for our lives.
It sounds like we all need that. We all need that. So for those of you that have been to the expo before, Elizabeth had that great bakery with the gluten-free baked goods, which I just couldn't get enough of, the Sweet Ladybug Bakes. And then she started her own bakery, and now she's written this book. Can you tell us what the title of your book is and when it comes out?
Yeah, so this is the book. I don't know if you can see it too well, but it's called This Is Where You Pivot, The Shift from Fear to Freedom. It is out now. It's available on Amazon and Ingram Spark, as well as Smashwords. You can get it in paperback and the ebook version. It is a quick read, but the book was inspired. So I was hiking several months ago, and I got to my campsite, and I got this voice in my head that said, "This is where you pivot." And I had no idea what that even meant in that moment. And then the next day, I find myself climbing this mountain and was scared out of my mind. It was an experience that I was not expecting, was not prepared for. And "This is where you pivot" kept coming back into my mind, and that just kept playing the whole way through. And by the time I got to the top of this mountain, I was frustrated and angry and scared, and there was a lot of emotion. And I realized that I could make a choice. I could either enjoy this beautiful waterfall that was sitting in front of me, or I can continue to be miserable and in fear and just really hate this whole experience. And so I made that pivot in that moment. And it was I never thought of it that way. So the book we start with me on the mountain. That's kind of where we open. And we talk a lot in the book about, in any given moment, we are given the power to make a choice. And we can either choose to deter and right into fear and stay there, or we can pivot and choose again. And that is something that we all have within us. So
I love what the story is developed into. Really, you've changed your entire life based on this experience.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So you're no longer doing the bakery. You're now an author, a coach, and you do some energy healing.
Correct. Yep. So this has been a very transformational year. You could say that I've made several pivots along the way in 2019. So I'm super excited for the next part of my journey. But yes, I am an author, a speaker, a coach, and Reiki practitioner, and also an Access Bars practitioner as well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, congratulations on your book. I mean, it happened so quickly. It must have blown your family's minds, actually.
It really did. So by the time we got down from the mountain and we got back to our campsite, I sat down and I started a journal, and this book just started to unfold. And I kind of thought about it, and I went, I think I'm going to go for it. I think I'm going to do it. And, you know, my family was very supportive, but kind of like, "You're going to write a book? Okay." You know, they really didn't know what to make of it. But now, you know, working with my editor and getting, the cover done, like step by step, they kind of have been more, I don't want to say aligned with it, but, oh, you're really serious. You're doing this. And I went,
Right.
yeah, I hope this is helpful for a lot of people.
Right. Well, the fact that you followed your intuition, you heard the phrase multiple times, it probably became annoying and obsessive right after a while, but you listened to your intuition, and you've taken the plunge, really. You've taken that leap of faith. And I mean, you don't really know where it's going to lead you, but it feels like everything you've done so far has been a step along that path. Like, you've been a business owner and you've been out there marketing yourself. So you kind of know how to do the basic things for running a business and promoting yourself, which will help you with the book and your coaching and energy healing business and helping others, because you have to let them know that you're out there.
Right. Yeah, I feel it's so funny. Even when I got into the bakery part of my journey, I could look back on all those points in my career prior and could see how it was leading me right there.
Right.
And yeah, we talk a little bit about in the book about intuition, and I'll talk a little bit about it during that talk on that Sunday. It's so important, to be able to hear that intuition, recognize it, and understand that voice will always lead you in the right direction.
Right.
Although I will say sometimes it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
You just follow those little breadcrumbs of guidance, and that change for me has led me to just a lot of peace. It's changed everything.
Excellent. Well, so many people have come to me through the years, and of course, I have a very varied background. I run a yoga and wellness studio, so I know nutrition, yoga, various healing modalities, meditations, et cetera, et cetera. I taught all of that, and I brought people in to do those other special events, kind of like the Expo, but on a much smaller scale. But so many times over the years, people would come to me and they would tell me their dreams or what their fears were, but there was always obstacles stopping them. Like, they wanted to do this, or they hated their job and they wanted to do something else, or they wanted to pursue this more, but there was always a fear or something stopping them. And I've been there myself too, and I still have those fears too. And I've gotten to the point where when that voice is in my head, I'm like, okay. Not really, I'm not rolling my eyes as much, but when the voice becomes that obsessive compulsion to follow, I know that there's a bigger plan out there than what I currently know of, and I just kind of do it. And it sounds like you kind of were in that boat too.
Yeah, I mean, fear is part of everyone's life. There's no escaping that fear, but we're really given that power to decide how we want to handle it.
Right.
And sure, there can be fear that leads us to danger. That's not really the kind of fear we talk about in this case. When we're talking about intuition, it's leaning in. If you want to change your career or change a relationship or change your health, it can be scary. And there's beliefs that we develop from the time that we're young, and sometimes we don't even realize that they're there. And so with the help of a healer or a coach, it can really be helpful to uncover what some of those beliefs are. And it doesn't change those experiences that you had. It just gives you such an awareness so that you can maybe shift your mindset a little bit and recognize where that comes from. And that having that awareness is a pivotal moment when you go, aha, I get it.
Right. It's not what happens to you, it's how you react to what happens to you that determines the quality of your life.
Yep.
So we're all going to have these obstacles, challenges, like we'll call them traumas, things that happen that are generally beyond our control. Okay. So you can spaz out, get all upset, run around like a chicken without a head, or you can understand that there may be a bigger plan. There may be lessons there that you need to learn. You may need to do something a little bit differently to get different results. I mean, there's always a reason for it. We just have to kind of figure out what that reason is a little bit.
Yeah, I think you touched on a really good point about what's the lesson. If you find that experiences keep happening or similar experiences, there's a lesson there that things may not change until you get it.
That's true. That's true.
That's something that I've become really aware of and can see patterns back in my own life too. And you kind of have to take a step back and go, what am I supposed to learn here?
Yeah.
And grow. And then that's another way to frame it too. They're growing experiences. They're not always pleasant. It's not always easy, but they are there to help you grow as a person, in whatever way that is. And it doesn't, like I said before, it doesn't always make sense at the time, but once you have that clarity, you can look back and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
Always look for the lesson when there's a challenge or obstacle. Like, what is it you're not seeing? What is it you're not, embracing or like open to? And what can you do to change, to learn, to streamline? And, I always tell people that the lessons start small and they're going to, the universe will amp them up until you learn the lesson.
Yes.
So, you can see it. Hindsight is 2020. You can see it easily after the fact. It's when you're in the middle of it. So I always tell people when you're in your own life, it's really hard to do your life because you've got that emotional, attachment, but you can see clearly in other people those lessons or they should have done this or they're on the wrong path or whatever. You can see it so easily in others. One of the things too, I think, is we are programmed from a very early belief to, progress through our life in a linear fashion, school, then college, then job, marriage, house, retirement, sitting in the rocker, retirement home or whatever you want to call it, and then death, decline and then death.
Right.
It's kind of a pattern that we've grown up with. So the fact that we have these intuitive hits that lead us along the path that of what would be a higher and better use of our life. We just have to, number one, recognize these intuitive voices and then just kind of breathe and trust and take that leap of faith.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you said that. There is a part in the book where I talk about what I always believed my jobs were going to be as an adult. And it's exactly what you said. Graduate high school, go to college, get a degree, get a job, start a family, buy a house, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yep. And so society programs us in one way. You go down this path, and it is very linear. But that may not always be. Like we're souls in a physical body, and that soul is here for a purpose and a higher good. And to follow that passion and purpose is so important for yourself and for everyone around you. And I think one other thing that I think is important, and I've always tried to teach this to my kids, there's always the ability to make a change. Even if you are in a career right now, a relationship, a situation, a living environment, and you feel like I've changed so many times, I've made changes, I'm not changing again. It is never, ever, ever, ever too late for you to follow a dream or follow that intuition, follow the guidance. It's never too late. You can always make that change.
I agree with you. And what I think of when I hear the word pivot, it's really an attitudinal change. It may not mean, let's just say you hate your job. It may not mean that you quit your job and move to another job, although you may, but it's more about pivoting or shifting your attitude because I think it might be a Buddhist saying, wherever you go, there you are. Okay, so let's just say you hate your job, you've got all these people you don't like around you, whatever it might be, and you go to a new job or a new relationship, you're going to attract that same kind of a thing because you haven't changed yourself, you haven't changed your attitude, you're just changing your environment. And it's not going to last long. It's the same with, you've seen women that have these bad relationships, so they get out of it, and then they jump in with the exact same type of a person. Different face, same thing happening in the background. So they just haven't changed themselves, their attitude, their emotional, way of looking at things.
And I think there's an element of self-love there that comes into play. Sometimes, like you said, the pivot's not always making a career change or anything like that. It's finding that time to accept yourself, like you said, and finding love and setting your boundaries and really being comfortable with who you are. So that, you know, you can be in those situations where you're with people that at your job, for example, and maybe they're not your best friends, and, you know, their energy and your energy may not be syncing up, but you can still go to work and do a great job and be in a positive mindset.
Right. Exactly.
You can set those boundaries for yourself and decide how you want your energy to be. So
Exactly. So tell us again the title of your book and show us the cover if you can.
Yeah. So this is the title. This is where you pivot.
This is where you pivot.
The shift from fear to freedom.
Awesome. And the title of your talk, it's Sunday, September 8th at 2 p.m. in the Evolve Room, okay, with Elizabeth Miles, This is where you pivot. She's going to talk about some of these concepts that are in her book and that she has basically radically modified her life by.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I hope, you know, to see many of you at the Expo. I'll be there all weekend. Stop by the table and say hi.
Excellent.
You know, ask questions, and I really look forward to it. I'm excited to be back.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to have you. And I've got to say, although I'm extremely happy for you and the fact that you jumped and taken that leap of faith, I'm kind of sorry about the baked goods because they were like so awesome. I know you'll be doing that for your family though, so it's good.
There may be a cookie. I can always bring you cookies at any time.
It's always about the food. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I'll be seeing you in a few weeks. And everybody come to 2 o'clock Sunday, September 8th, Elizabeth Miles.
Thanks, everyone. I hope to see you soon. Thanks so much, Sue. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.